Hey guys, Cameron with CBM Reviews here, and I'm back with some Black Lightning updates. Last time I was talking about Black Lightning, we were talking about the first 4 episodes of Season 2, which was the Book of Consequences, which I said in my review was mistitled. This one is called the Book of Blood. I'm going to tell you some things that I liked, some things that I didn't like. I'm going to try to keep the spoilers down to a minimum and give you my thoughts on the 3-episode arc. Before I jump into this, if you're a fan of comic book movie reviews, comic book TV reviews, trailer reactions, or some con footage, go ahead and click that subscribe button. And if you really want to get in right as soon as I drop a video, hit that notification bell. That way you're notified every single time I post a video. So, having said that, let's jump right into this. And this story picks up right pretty much where the Book of Consequences left off, except it doesn't. Almost nothing that's referenced in the first 4 episodes is referenced here. There are some main story plots that are referenced, but for the most part, it kind of does its own thing. A few important things happen. Number 1, there's an assassination attempt on Gamby, which happens in the first 2-3 minutes of episode 5. And then there are repercussions that happen within the Pierce household, and Anissa decides she wants to help out in the clinic even more, not just donating money like she did in the first 4 episodes, but this time actually volunteering her time. And she meets a young couple who are having a baby, and this is where the main meat of the Book of Blood happens. You literally have 2 different factions within South Freeland, and one is called the Purdy and the other is called the Sanjay. And they don't like each other. One of them has powers, the other one doesn't, and it's just like this all-out bad blood. The Book of Blood was aptly titled. It was titled correctly. And I enjoyed a few things in this, but then again, there were some other things that I didn't like. So let's talk about the things that I did like. As much as I was kind of on the fence about Jen, who is Black Lightning's youngest daughter, she really starts to come into her own in this particular season. Not just this book, but in this season. You see her going through some, I hate to say this, stereotypical teenager mood swings, except it's realistic. And that's something that I guess I've been missing a little bit, to see some people who have conflict and are dealing with frustrations, and they handle these frustrations like a real person would. Also, you have a little bit of layers coming from Khalil, who was at the very beginning Jen's love interest, and then he gets paralyzed, and Tobias gives him the ability to walk again, but now he has to work for Tobias. And we see that he is not the bad guy that he was kind of portrayed as at the end of season 1. He's a human being. He has a conscience. He hasn't really crossed over any lines yet. And we see him have reservations about blindly following Tobias in what they have to do. In fact, things come to a head in episode number 6. Another character that who is a lot more prominent in this season and was only a cameo in the first season is the pastor of the church. He's real. He is a pastor from the hood. He doesn't allow other people to walk all over him just because he's a man of God. He understands where he is, and he understands what he has to do in order to make things work for his parishioners, for his community, and he's not afraid to make the hard sacrifices, if need be, in order to keep the people of Freeland prosperous, or at least as best that he can do. Those 3 characters turn out great. I really enjoy what they bring to the table. And lastly, as I said, this story, the Book of Blood, definitely borrows from Shakespeare, specifically Romeo and Juliet. And no, not the one where they both die, but there are warring factions. Instead of the Montagues and the Capulets, you have the Sanjay and the Purdy. Or maybe it's more like Hatfields and McCoys. Whichever comparison that you want to use, this actually brings a little bit of interest into the story. So those are the things that I liked about the Book of Blood. So let's get down to what I don't like. Number 1, and this is the smallest gripe. There's not a whole lot of Black Lightning to be seen. There are a few images, and he's a little bit more prominent as the Book of Blood progresses, but he's not really there. He's not the focal point at all. In fact, the focal point is Anissa, who is the older daughter, and she's been a whole lot more prominent in the second season. There's not a whole lot of Jefferson Pierce. He doesn't go into Garfield High. At the end of the Book of Consequences, he's really beefing with the new principal. It's interesting that things are coming to a head, and we don't see anything in the school. We don't see anything with the new principal. That's some tension that I don't know if we needed it, but it wasn't there, and it was interesting in the previous storyline. So that's missing, even though this only takes place within the course of like 2 days or so. I was missing that dynamic from Jefferson Pierce. Another thing I didn't like was Anissa. Anissa this season is one of my least favorite things. And the reason why is because she does stupid stuff. Like, what do you expect is going to happen? And this happened in the Book of Consequences. What did you think was going to happen by robbing criminals? They're going to retaliate. What did you think was going to happen by driving down in the boonies by yourself? I'm not giving anything away. I'm just setting up the scene and then asking the question. The things that she does, she puts herself in harm's way, which she can handle herself, but she doesn't think through the consequences of what could possibly happen by her actions, i.e. her stupid actions. And then of course there's her on again, off again girlfriend, where she just goes to her house and expects her to take her back in open arms. And I'm just, at this point, yelling at the episode, tell her to get out. Tell her to, and it doesn't happen. And this is easily my least favorite, not only this story, but the season so far, just because of the decisions that she goes through. And then there's Lynn, who's the mom, who I've never really been the biggest fan of, but the way that she copes with some things, I'm not gonna say is unrealistic. It's just highly unlikable, and I don't buy it from her character. I could see it from other people, but from her, not really feeling it. There's a new villain, Looker, who is the head of the Sanjay, who makes the dumbest decision I've ever seen. Not just from any villain, but from a character. You have a character called Black Lightning. His powers are lightning based. There are certain things, if you have this character captured, that you don't do because you want to win. So don't do stupid stuff. Overall, it was a little bit better than the Book of Consequences, but there are some glaring things that are wrong, like the things that I mentioned. Plus, we're just now introduced to South Freeland, which is like super boonies out in the middle of nowhere. How come we've never seen this before? It just doesn't fit the narrative that we've seen before. We've seen Freeland, which is kind of like an urban setting, and then you get to South Freeland, which is like at times. It seems like the settings are just there for convenience sake, and it doesn't make sense, especially considering the very end of the episode where a couple of characters decide to branch off on their own, and now they're in some booming metropolis, which I've never seen in the entire show. Like, where exactly are they? So, setting issues, there's some other story issues too, but I don't want to get into those story issues because there'll be more spoilers than I really care to give away. But at least it has a little bit of heart. And there are some sociological issues that are brought up and a little uncomfortable, yet I'm glad that it finally had the guts to bring this sort of thing to light. The next book is the Book of Rebellion, which, from the way that the Book of Blood ended, looks like it's aptly titled, as this one was. I don't know how many episodes are in this, because I'm actually posting this one a little late, but I will be watching the Book of Rebellion to see how this ties up, because there are some open ends from the Book of Consequences that have yet to be addressed, whereas the Book of Blood kind of wrapped itself up almost nicely in a tight little bow. So that's my review of Black Lightning, the Book of Blood. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this review, hit that like button. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Share this video with all your friends. And as always, this is Cameron with CBM Reviews. We'll see you next time.
We're not a family without Jen.
She ran away with some boy.
Khalil.
You didn't say anything?
You blaming this on me? You drove her away. Just like you did me.
Black Lightning. All new episode next Tuesday at 9/8 Central. Only on the CW.